in today's world, I'm 52. How old are you, JJ?
38.
So you're
38.
So the as I look back, I can look at back and the people graduating college today, there seems to be very heightened fear of what they're going to do with the rest of their lives and what they're going to do. And I didn't feel that way. I don't know about your generation, but my generation, we did not feel that way. We just, we worried about having the right mentors to guide us. But we weren't worried about finding a job the second we graduated college. And so, talk about what someone should look for at any.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Did you grow up in an entrepreneurial household?
Yeah.
Yes, I think that's a huge piece.
Yeah.
So I was teaching a class at NUS in Singapore, and I asked people who wants to start a business, and about 30% of hands went up. And I said, keep your hand up if someone in your family started a business, and 80% of hands stayed up.
Yeah.
And I think it's a huge difference in what you grow up with, and that often dictates what you end up doing. I grew up in an employee household. Yeah. So for me, I had no entrepreneurship role models around me. And that's why it took me till 33 to do it. Because I was trained to get good grades, go to college, get a good job, rise up to those ranks.
Yeah.
And so I was focused on getting a job, but that was a function of, I don't think it's a function of my generation. I think it's a function of what you grew up with.
Okay, well said. But on the flip side of that, I remember being in college, having a lot of friends whose parents were entrepreneurs and not, and nobody was talking about getting internships sophomore year, junior year, and what they were concerned about. I think there is a higher level. So I think both are true. I think both are true. Yeah. But rewind either scenario. What should people look for? You talked about it a little bit with your wife, and I agree. But if someone's looking for a mentor, my son's 21 years old. And so I tell him, reach out to one person every day and build your network and reach out to mentors and ask them questions. And so what would your guidance be to someone who's 20, 30, 40, doesn't even matter? Why a mentor? What to look for in a mentor?
I think it's a good question. I think one of the things and I didn't know this when I was young, is to understand whether someone fundamentally gets you, right? In my career, I've always had immediate managers who have had no idea what to do with me. But I've had skip level managers who've then figured out what to do with me. And often, if I did not have that skip level manager, I wouldn't sort of got to where I've got to in life. Yeah. And I'm very grateful to those folks. But people are often both intimidated and annoyed by young people who go against the grain.
Yeah.
And those are often people who are saying, oh, listen, you're young, you don't know how it's done. Let me teach you how it's done. And I think it's bullshit.
Yeah.
And so I think the first thing to ask is, does this person really get me?
Yeah.
And do I vibe with this person? And that should be and that should be table stakes.
Yeah.
On whether you want to listen to this person, hang out with this person, take advice from this person, because everybody's wired differently. And I think if you see the other side sort of approach with curiosity, I think respond with asking questions and really understanding that person's experience. So then understand, what about that person's life can you emulate and avoid? So one of my coaches, a guy called Rob Beer, he's 65, but he and I often talk about how he and I are very similar. And so through his life, I also get to understand potential pathways I might take that may not serve me well, given what my natural inclinations are. And on the other hand, I have a coach, his name is Eddie Ahmed, who's very different to me. And I find that aspirational to how he approaches life and how he operates. And I think that different people at different stages, but I think most importantly is vibe and do they get you?
Yeah. So I love everything you just shared. One of the things I find, and I coach a lot of managers and I coach companies, and when companies tell me, hey, we want you to now work with some of these managers, the first question I ask is, were they promoted to a manager because they were good at their job or because they were good with people. And they'll say, they're good at their job. I say, well, and a lot of times they don't understand people. And one of the things I see is companies don't invest enough into their managers to make them quote unquote managers.